All right. Well, it's just at 2:02. So for those that just finally joined, welcome. Thank you guys for jumping in onto the Xyte Midyear Product Roadmap and Update webinar. We've done a couple of these. This really is my favorite webinar that we do at Xyte. We got a lot of diverse audience members, from current customers to future customers we're talking about in pilot stages, to even some new customers I'm seeing on here that we actually haven't even had a conversation with. So awesome audience. You're in the right place to learn about all the incredible things that we are building within the Xyte device cloud, and really how we're working with manufacturers to set you off on a cloud journey and potentially get you to offer things like digital products, and even offer your products as a service. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. Before I get started, some housekeeping items. You guys are all muted on your end, but do know that the chat function and Q&A functions are available to you. So please do click those. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, add that to the box. We're going to keep an eye on it as Ron's talking through a lot of these product updates. I'll do my best to talk about it throughout the webinar, but if not, we're going to save some time at the end and we'll address those questions. Everything's recorded here, so if you have to step away for a second, don't worry about it. You guys can always go back and watch the recording, as we're going to email it out to all of you guys that signed up and attended. And of course, if you want us to send it to anybody else within your organization, just reach out to me or Ron. I am Andrew at Xyte.io, and of course, Ron is Ron at Xyte.io. But again, really excited to talk about this today because this is truly my favorite webinar to go through everything related to cloud and the innovation that we've done here at Xyte for both current and future customers. I'm joined here today with Ron Zaksh. If you guys haven't met Ron, Ron is our VP of product. He'll be jumping on in a couple slides as we're starting to talk about the features and the updates to the platform. But the way I want to get started is I want to talk quickly about some recent market insights. Typically, as we start these roadmap webinars, is I always like to set the stage, let you guys know a little bit about what we've done as a company in terms of research. We send a bunch of people around the globe to different webinars, different consultant events, of course, different trade shows and conferences. We're going to share our insight, not just in the AV world, but technology as a whole. Then we're going to bring up Ron. He's going to talk all about the recent updates and the near-term future releases, giving you a little bit better view into even like our 2-year vision of the cloud itself. And then, of course, we'll talk a little bit more about questions and answers at the end. So to kick things off, recent market insights, what we learned and what we're doing. Really, we've been at a whole bunch of conferences. That's been a big focus over the last quarter since we last spoke. And engaging, of course, with still these top consultants around the world. But Infocom, IoT World Congress, Sensors Converge, Hannover Messe, many, many more. I mean, these different trade shows cover a bunch of different industries and markets, from audiovisual to sensors to IoT devices and to industrial equipment. And the cool thing that I've noticed about attending these conferences is the trends are fairly similar across these different industries of connected technology. And the one underlying concept behind all of them is that clouds are everywhere and it's no longer a nice to have. It's a must have. These questions from customers that you're probably getting of what's your cloud strategy? Are you cloud connected? I'm even seeing specifications now from consultants that require cloud readiness. They're being implemented across the board. And so this shift in mindset that we've seen from customers and channel partners, dealers, integrators, service providers, we've also seen a flip in business. What customers are doing, or really what manufacturers are what's happening to them, is that they're no longer winning business because of the cloud. We're actually seeing their business being lost for those that don't have a cloud. And honestly, it's whether you know it or not. So what do I mean by this cloud? Well, there's 3 main aspects and trends that we saw across all technology industries when they say your cloud readiness, or what is your cloud strategy and why you may be losing business because you don't have one. The first one is this single pane of glass. I know I've talked about this before, but it's becoming more prevalent today, and especially these integrated worlds like the AV space and like the industrial or building management spaces. And that is because the people at the end customer, the integrators and the installers, they're required to manage the uptime of certain spaces, of certain buildings. And that includes multiple manufacturers of devices, some your competitors, some of your partners. And so now the companies that are offering a foundational cloud platform that is quote unquote open or agnostic to be able to support multiple manufacturers, is adding greater value to their dealers and to their customers, because now they can focus on the outcome of making sure that that space or that building or that room or that area is up and running, and not just your individual product. So single pane of glass, multi-manufacturer, capable clouds, huge trend. Second one, and we saw this just at InfoComm actually around a month ago, which was really, really exciting, is AV as a service, arguably for the first time ever, has not just been properly defined, but actually launched. And one of our incredible customers, we're going to talk about them in a second, is really leading that charge. Because what we mean by AV as a service now, or at least what we used to think we meant about AV as a service, has been debunked. A lot of the times people would think of AV as a service and think about bundling hardware and buying subscriptions to that hardware. No longer the case. What we're seeing AV as a service being defined as is simply the ability to offer feature enablement, digital products, and aftermarket sales that's avoiding a rip and replace of existing hardware at your customers or your dealer sites. This is providing lower barriers of entry, and now finally giving you the ability to keep traction with your customers even during a refresh, because you can add features from the cloud. Huge, huge announcements at InfoComm around that, and we're seeing this trend tick up like no other. The last one is data, data, data. It's probably been a common theme. I know we've been talking a lot about it, even around a decade ago when we first brought it up, as it was like Microsoft Power BI was first coming into play. But really, it's now nice to say that you integrate with other clouds, and you can say, oh, well, my product's capable of being monitored and managed on XYZ system. But right now, that's only half the story. Because if you just go at that, you get no visibility. You, as a manufacturer, receive no data, and you offer no control or value. And so finally, this final sort of pillar of this cloud initiative or this cloud trend is that leverage the cloud for yourselves and not just your customers. Gain more value from the cloud that you're deploying so that you can make better products and better decisions for your customers down the line. So those have been the three biggest trends by far. But in general, clouds are everywhere. They're ubiquitous. You're now at a point of losing business if you don't have one, instead of simply gaining it if you did. And the last thing from this market trend, I had to have a quick slide up here on what we saw at InfoComm and a quick roundup, because I wanted to congratulate some of the manufacturers at InfoComm. A lot of you guys are on this webinar today who've officially launched this new cloud system. You're taking advantage of data, you're offering aftermarket license upgrades, you're giving your dealers a portal to do more than just monitoring on-off status, but really managing actively, proactively your different solutions. And this is just a small subset from one trade show. And the next couple of trade shows in this industry and others, we're going to see so many more. So real big congratulations to all of you guys who have launched this cloud and offering better services down for your dealer, and really gaining that competitive edge over the rest of the market who can't meet the spec of cloud ready needed in this industry. So that's really where we stood and saw from these different trade shows, these different webinars that we've attended and working with different consultants, of what's happening and what's being demanded. How do I gain business and not lose business? This is where we're seeing the decision-making happening. Now what I want to transition to is bring up to this webinar Ron, our VP of Product, to really focus now how we're addressing these trends, not just today and what we've released over the last quarter, but of course, how are we moving forward? What else are we doing from an innovation, design, and development standpoint to ensure that when working with Xyte, you guys always have the most cutting-edge, bleeding-edge, market-defining solution out there for you to stop losing business and begin focus on gaining business. So Ron, you want to jump up in here and let's take our first new innovation that's been released, Xyte Hubs.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So as Andrew said, my name is Ron. I'm VP of Product at Xyte. So the first item I wanted to talk about is basically our hubs. So as I mentioned in previous webinars, we have been working on a new modular UX for your partner portal. And it has now turned on for all of you. So you might have seen it already because it's quite new, turned on a couple of days ago. You can go and check it out. Basically, with the modular hubs approach, we're making the entire platform better for you, both from a UX perspective and also from a day-to-day operational perspective. It is designed to address business challenges and leverage growth opportunities for stakeholders across the organization, including your product team, your sales team, marketing team, finance, operations people, and support. Basically, the way it works is that the top menu, the black part, has different hubs. And within each hub, the left menu has the relevant product features for that hub. And also the access control management is working alongside that. So if you are someone that only does product development, you would see the product hub. If you're one that does the e-commerce, you would see the e-commerce relevant parts, and so on and so forth. And we would build on that in the future to add additional hub-specific analytics and insights and quick actions, and so on.
Yeah, this one, I know it seems like an infrastructural update, and maybe not something that's like mind-blowing for the manufacturers that are on here, expecting these mind-blowing updates that we always give them. But in fact, this is the biggest update for quickness of adoption. I can't tell you how many manufacturers in every industry that I speak to that I give them the whole, vision of Xyte and AV as a service or products as a service, and journey to the cloud. And it's like, well, that's too much. We don't need all of that. We just need some of it. Well, the great news is now with this hub's infrastructure is to that first bullet, you can adopt at your own pace. If you're not ready for something as a service and you just simply want to get to the cloud and offer your products to be monitored and managed, great. You can use that hub within Xyte, or vice versa. Maybe you already have your cloud solution for monitoring and management. Love it. We're not going to tell you to throw that out and start over, but you need a solution to maybe offer an online store for digital products and feature enablements and license entitlements. Not a problem. You can leverage that hub or that module from Xyte. So it's giving you a lot greater flexibility in adding the different features as you want to grow or as you want to address certain new things in your product.
Okay, the next new feature that was recently released is basically your ability to now offer your customers advanced premium platform features for a fee. So there's a whole new business model that you can now use. You can monetize platform features like specific remote commands, for example, secure tunneling. It could be firmware upgrades and anything else that you define as a command. You can easily create a license, connect that license to multiple commands across different devices, and then list that for sale in your e-commerce storefront within Xyte. The pricing can be the one-time or it can be subscription-based, and any command can be licensed without any change required to the device firmware. So you don't need to develop anything, just configure on Xyte and premiumize features that we've already defined as your commands. Some of our customers are already setting this feature up for the premium offering, and we'll see that released quite soon. So I wanted to kind of gauge the interest in this approach, and we've prepared a little poll here that we can put up now. Basically asking you, do you plan to monetize platform features? Can we put up the poll?
All right, so guys, the poll should be up there. We're going to give you a couple minutes, really not a couple minutes, a minute to address this poll about do you plan to monetize platform features. Just to talk a little bit more about this, because I am seeing this from a bunch of current manufacturers who are leveraging the platform license to enable like different premium features. They can also now begin to offer things like secure tunneling as a specific feature that you may want to offer as premium as part of your platform. So not just offering, hey, we're going to charge you by room, by space, but now by specific commands, specific features, of course, in addition to what you can already offer as it relates to licenses and feature enablement within the Xyte store. All right, so a couple more seconds to answer that poll. Boom. All right, perfect. Thank you.
Right. So let's move on. So another option that we added for the device dashboard is basically an option to visualize and track device behavior or state changes through customizable device events. So sometimes things happen in the device which are not reported by the normal way of telemetries. These are events that the device generates itself. So we've built a way to report on specific events for your device, regardless of the telemetry. For example, error reporting or any abnormal behavior that the device reports directly, not as an incident. And for both events that are expected, like normal behavior of the device that you want to know that happened, or events that are not expected and indicate an error state, users can view an event log, which is simply a list, but also visualize them in a very nice scatter chart, which has a timeline and also the number of events that happened during that time. You can plot up to 8 events over time on the same scatter plot in different colors, view them in a single widget so you can see the concurrency between them and maybe they're related. And just to let you know that this specific widget was requested by a premium customer. And if you are a premium customer, you can actually have a say on our roadmap and basically influence on the Xyte features that are going to be released in upcoming months.
Yeah, actually, Ron, there was even we just got a question from somebody on the webinar as well that asked just that pretty much, was like, how do we prioritize our product backlog and feature requests? Just to address that one quickly, because I know there's been a couple other questions that I'll hold a little bit to the end. But to address that one, as Ron stated, we have different tiers of access to our platform. Obviously, a lot of the tiers from basic, standard, premium, enterprise is very feature based, right? Obviously, the features will get more advanced, more customizable as you move up in the tier access to our platform. But one of the, so I'll call it soft non-features, is this right here, is priority feature requests. And we prioritize feature requests. This is a great example of a request that came from that premium subscriber of ours. And we developed it. We identified it was a great use case for our platform, and we launched it for them and other customers. And that'll stick true for all customers within those higher level tiers.
Thanks. Another example of a feature that was actually built upon a customer request. So in the device dashboard, we added an ability to view together parent and child devices on a map. And also to see the status one next to another in a single view. This will cater, for example, for customers who are managing parent and child devices which are not located at the same point. For example, there could be street lights that are the child devices and they are connected to a parent controller. You can have a few displays located in different locations and connected to one controller or digital media player. So now you can see the status and location of all the parent and all its child devices on a map. And when you click on the parent device dashboard, you'll see everything, and you can also go to the different child devices. Of course, if everything is on the same location, then it means less so to show them on a map. But if they are geographically dispersed, like this example, you can see exactly where everything is and what's the relation between the devices. The next one is basically mobile. So we've added more capabilities to our mobile web application, and this time is mobile RMM. So you can now monitor and manage your devices on the go using a mobile phone. You can send commands to the device and view the status of the device and how it changed after the command was received. And the same map view that you just saw on the desktop is also available on mobile. So you can see here the parent device, you can see the child devices, and there's another addition which is mobile only. You can see yourself on the map and where are you located in relation to the location of these devices.
I mean, this is just so cool. I mean, it seems once again something so simple, but yet is so cool to me when I'm able to talk about the fact that you can monitor an entire estate of installed connected technology, whether AV, sensors, industrial equipment, all from your phone now. I mean, and this is huge because just to remind a couple of the maybe the newer customers that are on this webinar, we were one of the first as well to launch QR code claiming via a mobile device. And so that's been out for years now within the Xyte platform to actually claim those devices. Great tool for your dealers, right? Bunch of boxes, you slap a QR code on there. you're able to go in the Xyte mobile app and just start scanning away to claim them as part of your specific managed and monitored environment. But now, taking that next step, not only can I just claim or sort of identify that these are my devices, now I can actually do stuff with it on the mobile app too. So this is the foundation for so much more to come as well. We'd love for some of our existing customers that are leveraging the platform and expect their customers to use mobile device management to please give us some feedback so we can see where to take this from here. The last thing I'll mention too about mobile device management is, at the end of the day, when you're getting into some of your larger installs, we're talking hundreds of devices, thousands of devices, which are very common with a lot of these Xyte implementations today. Typically, a mobile device isn't going to cut it. It's going to be great to maybe take quick action on the road, but iPad, laptop, still going to be your best option for monitoring and management. But really, really cool stuff here. Now just being able to have a full cloud-based monitoring and management tool in your pocket.
Okay. So if you remember previous webinars, we continued our effort to add aggregated data widgets to the end customer organization portal. So on top of the, if you remember, on top of the individual device dashboard, we do have the organization dashboard that has aggregated data from different spaces that takes data from all the devices or a subset of the devices that the end customer has claimed. And we've continued to add additional analytics and additional views to analyze the data that comes from these devices. So one that was released in the previous couple of months was the breakdown of the device models widget, which basically gives the customer a high-level view of the distribution of what device models they have. You can select to view all the devices or only the online devices. And this is a dynamic widget, which means if you select a different space, you will see the widget data changes based on the scope of the space that you're currently looking at and all the spaces below.
Amazing. So Ron, these were the updates that have all been released, right? Like these are available today in the platform?
Everything is available today, yes.
Amazing. Before we get to the coming soon in the next 6 months, we had a couple questions I just want to address that were brought in, and then I'll get to some of the more larger questions later on. Ron, one of the questions was about device events and these telemetries, and if they're extractable through an API.
The device events are currently present in the log. I'll need to check offline whether that is directly approachable by API or we need to add another extension to the existing one.
Okay, awesome. And then another question as it related to some, I think this is back to a lot of the telemetries and some of these widgets. The question was, among these events, can you report device autonomy knowing that like how many out there are running on battery as an example? And I think I'll address that one, briefly for the question is, we're able to really take any telemetry that the device itself is reporting. So if it's reporting battery status, then you can turn that telemetry into a visualization in the cloud. So it's really all dependent on what the device is reporting. Our cloud is super flexible. You can use our tools to take any of those communications, any of those telemetry strings, and turn it into however you want to visualize it for you and for your customer. The rest of the questions so far, I think we'll wait until maybe a next break. We'll get to some of those soon.
All right. So
what's coming?
Yeah. So now let's talk about what's coming soon. So continuing the work on customer org dashboard widgets. There are two widgets that will come really soon. One of them is the average age of open incidents. So as you know, we have the concept of incidents, which are kind of abnormal behaviors of the device based on rules that you define. And incidents has to be resolved, or maybe they disappear because the device went back to normal. But you want to look at, or the end customer would want to look at kind of what's going on with incidents. So they can define this widget, which basically visualizes the age of open incidents in kind of time bins. And the bins can be defined by whatever SLA they want to use. So they have a policy regarding how they want to handle incidents, and they can count how many incidents were within each bin and whether they adhere or not adhere to the policy that they defined. You can also select what kind of incidents you're talking about. So break them down by severity, show only the most severe incidents and not show others. That's coming soon.
Yeah, really nice dealer or reseller or integrator tool here is that just right on the dashboard for the customer that dealer is managing, monitoring, installing your devices on as a manufacturer, they can see this average age of open incidents and begin to prioritize their support activities. So they don't have to actually run the report. They don't have to have any special access. Now you can throw this widget, this dashboard visualization right on the front page for your customers. Now your dealers are going to be able to get some value too.
The next one is another widget that's aimed for the customer portal, and that's a breakdown of devices in spaces. So the number of devices, how many devices exist within each space. So let's imagine that you have a very complex space tree with like hundreds or thousands of devices. This will give you a visual snapshot of where the kind of center of gravity is, which spaces have more devices, less devices. It also shows you the subspaces and the subspaces all within the same widget. And of course, if you select a subspace, the widget will change to look at that subspace and below in a dynamic way. Okay, now let's get to the serious stuff. So as Andrew mentioned, single pane of glass is one of the trends that we see and one of the needs that we saw on the market. So we will be launching the next phase of Xyte Connect. If you remember, we launched Xyte Connect, I don't know, 2-3 quarters ago, which basically allowed you to connect with your channel partners, form relationship, allow them to provide support to your customers, and so on. The other part, or the next phase of Xyte Connect, is basically focusing on the connection between the end customers and the OEMs. End customers will now be able to claim and manage devices from different Xyte-enabled manufacturers in the same space, tenant, in the same view, basically, creating a single pane of glass for anything that is Xyte-enabled. This also brings value to you, the OEMs, because end customers of other OEMs can now have the ability to browse your offering within Xyte, expanding your market reach to customers who are already using the Xyte cloud for their AV setups.
Yeah, and for those AV customers, right, specifically in the audiovisual space, we even have some built-in integrations that you guys may or may not be aware of, which is now also Teams rooms and Zoom rooms, which in the conferencing world is becoming probably the de facto standard. So that now it's not only your device with some of your partners' devices in that single pane, but it's your device with your partner's devices and this ubiquitous Zoom and Teams rooms for your dealers, one pane of glass, all Xyte enabled out of the box.
So let's see a bit more details on that. So as part of Connect 2, we will revamp the look and feel of key areas in the customer portal, adding additional placement for your brand visuals and messaging. I'll get into each of these in the following slides. So basically, instead of using a separate tenant per brand, the customers will be able to connect with additional Xyte cloudified brands. These are just, invented names, but these will be your logos here. As well as integrate, as Andrew said, with cloud-to-cloud providers such as Zoom, Teams, and XIO. And basically connecting to a brand is similar as creating a tenant on that brand, but it's the same tenant for the end customer. So every time someone will connect to you here, they will appear as your customer in the partner portal, will be in your list of customers, the same way they are today.
Got it. So Ron, just to kind of say that back to you, right? So I've built my cloud. I'm manufacturer ABC, using the Xyte tools to build manufacturer ABC cloud monitoring tool. I launched that out to my customer. My customer, dealer, integrator, whomever wants to create a login to my cloud, now has the ability to go into this Xyte Connect tool and say, yeah, I love manufacturer ABC stuff. But in addition to manufacturer ABC stuff, I also have manufacturer XYZ equipment that I also need to manage. And so now in this screen, I can click manufacturer XYZ and connect it into my ABC cloud. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing, just using some generic names here. But I mean, this is pretty powerful, right? This is what we've all heard from dealers, integrators, service providers, and of course, enterprise IT managers and building management system providers of my building, my room, my space has more than just one brand. Of course it does, right? So why not now have the ability to go to that one brand's cloud, but now connect into all the others that are also Xyte connected. So I do want to go to the next slide too, because I think this will show the sort of the granularity of how it's even done, right, in the claiming process.
So basically, when you claim a device, when your end user claims a device, all the connected brands will be available to choose from. So instead of having just one brand, you will have the different brands, and you choose, I have this brand at hand, I want to claim their device now, and then all these devices will appear in the space tree of that user.
And that includes also the we'll call them out-of-box integrations, like with Zoom and Teams rooms, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, great. So I can see connected brands that are like manufacturers that are using the cloud. I can see out-of-the-box integrations like Zoom and Teams. And I can even right here as well, if I'm starting to connect into dealers, potentially see things that they've created, like these potential drivers and modules, if these dealers have created these custom connections as well. So this really starts to truly, finally become this cloud standard in these industries that are looking to provide their customers that one single source of truth.
Yes, correct. Another thing that we're adding, I mean, since it's going to be a multiple brand experience, we're adding more placements for the brand name in the device styles and in the dashboard to make it clear for the end customer which brand they're working with. So as you can see here in this example, we have kind of logos here on the tiles and logo on the device dashboard that shows you which brand of device you're looking at right now. That's part of the extra branding that we're adding into the customer portal.
No, I love that. I for some of our existing customers, Ron, I know that they probably were like, oh, well, this has been quote unquote launched for a little bit. I've been testing it. But previously it was a picture of a display or a picture of a sensor. So adding the logos, awesome for your resellers and dealers, right? Who are maybe using this to manage. Now they know exactly which brand that they're clicking into from that single login that requires the monitoring, management, update, ticket, whatever it may be. Really love that. You guys, if you can't see, it's on the right-hand side. You can kind of see where it says Zoom Rooms or it says Amara display. And so you can start to add those different logos. Really slick.
Another thing, of course, last but not least, is the branded store. So the Xyte e-commerce store experience will also be revamped with an immersive branded experience. So you can see on the left here, a welcome to the store where each brand has its own entry point with the boilerplate and the logo and the image and so on, allowing the customer to access the stores of all the different brands that they have connected to and basically get to the store that you fully control. So once they click on your logo, they get your store that you fully control today and basically buy from you. So it's like a supermarket of the premium brands that your customers connected to, and they can go into the shelf of this one or that one and buy everything very easily. That would be physical products, licenses, everything that was set up.
So you're saying I don't have to go to the avocado store to buy avocados and then drive to the Apple store to buy apples and then the banana store to buy bananas. I can finally go to one supermarket, finally, of technology to actually buy everything. I mean, this is what we've always been asked for in the AV industry, the IoT industry, especially from a dealer and end customer standpoint, is like there finally is that supermarket of technology. It's incredible.
Yes. Next one. So again, following up on what Andrew said in the trends, data. So for OEMs, we are working on adding a new set of device data analytics to inform product development decisions. The data will be from device usage. It could be metadata such as firmware version distribution or incidents that can basically support your product development decisions. If you're interested, we're happy to have a call with any of you and discuss your specific use cases and how you would want to use data. And we actually have a little poll here now exactly on that point, asking you about your use cases for device analytics.
So the poll should have just popped up. We'll give you guys a couple seconds to put in your answers. Since there's two questions there, obviously a yes, no, and in the future, and then an actual text box. We'll give you guys a little bit extra time to answer that one. While we're doing it, we have some existing customers on here, of course, that may have seen this question come up before, because we're continuing to always advance and iterate on how we're looking to display data. One of the reasons, if you're curious why we're even asking this, is as you can imagine, it's difficult to just choose a couple specific ways of showcasing data because every manufacturer is going to be different. So we want to be as flexible as possible, but also identify trends that are common across multiple industries, multiple manufacturers, that is visualizing data. It's actually useful. And I think that's probably the most important thing here. What we've seen with data is it sometimes just ends up being a collection of crap. And it's just numbers and some graphs, and it doesn't mean anything. We want this to be actionable. So what and where and which and how can we showcase to you information that is truly actionable? So not only can you truly make decisions on it, but even make decisions and take action in the Xyte platform as well. So that same sort of mantra of single pane of glass that we've been talking about for your dealers and your customers to manage and monitor, we want to take that true to the back end portal. We want to give you a single pane of glass as a manufacturer to not just build a cloud, but manage your cloud, support your customer, build a store. And this type of data visualization is key to doing so.
Yeah.
All right. I think last couple people are answering the poll. Give you guys a couple more seconds there. All right. Awesome. Thank you guys for doing that. Let's get back to the next one, Ron.
Yes. So again, as Andrew mentioned, we're working within an ecosystem. And as we explore the entire ecosystem, we realize that some end customers are already using their specialized platform of choice to monitor their devices. They're used to something, they have specific applications connected to it, they have some business logic in it, whatever else. So we want to cater for everyone. We plan to build the universal API that basically allows these specific solutions to connect to Xyte and enable their users to manage all the Xyte-enabled devices in their platform of choice. That's what we call the universal gateway. And this way, once you as an OEM integrates with Xyte, you will get access to users of additional third-party platforms on top of the Xyte portal. We all know that we just said we're going to upgrade to a single pane of glass. So this basically resonates with the idea of open architecture that understand that we need to kind of plug and play with the best of breed platforms and get put in the user's hands whatever they will get the most value of. We do have a poll here as well, and we want to ask you whether you're interested in this universal gateway function. Would you be excited to basically connect your data into a platform that you already know that exists and your users are using?
So Ron, as people are answering this, this is even a question you and I had, and obviously just as a note to the folks in the webinar, of course, this is something very future that we're looking in the platforms is not available today right now. Obviously, our APIs are open today, but we want to make it cleaner, easier for you. But Ron, the way that I'm hearing this is like it's almost develop once and integrate many. Is that like kind of the idea?
Yes, and it works both ways, by the way. So you as an OEM develop once and will appear in many, many platforms for your users. And these specialized platform will develop once into Xyte and get all the richness of OEMs that have developed into Xyte.
That's a great point. Yeah, I think this could be pretty powerful. I know when I've spoken to manufacturers and resellers and integrators and dealers in these spaces, there's just a lot of things that people need to integrate into, and it requires a lot of development. I mean, obviously, we've ideally looked to solve the cloud monitoring part, so you're not having to integrate to all these different cloud monitoring tools. You can now develop once and integrate to many to offer better options to your customers. But I think the other benefit here as well is by developing to Xyte, it's not just an integration handshake to these other platforms, but you still get all the other benefits from Xyte as well, right? You still get the data when you integrate. You still get the ability to launch a store and potentially enable digital products and feature enablement. So all the other benefits that we're all used to when developing to Xyte, they're still there. This is something we think we could really add on top of and make the already open API just that much more useful for you guys. All right, I think a couple more seconds to answer this. Perfect. All right. Wonderful. Thank you. Let's move on.
Yes. Last one from my end at least. So again, talking to the ecosystem, talking to advanced features, e-commerce. So we want to increase our support on the ecosystem for e-commerce and in e-commerce as a whole, and expand our offering to cater for additional real-world use cases in a complex multi-layer business ecosystem that includes OEMs, various channel partners, and customers. For example, building a premium offering for your customers that includes a trial period. So we started from a freemium model where you can enable a command for a fee and license a specific command for a fee, which we all know that works very well in the SaaS industry, for example, freemium. A free trial is another approach where you kind of give everything for free for a certain period, and then after a certain time, they hit a paywall and they start paying for whatever they got free up until then. We want to allow you to set up discounts and coupons that reflect your business relations with different customers, different distributors, different integrators. Not all customers are created equally. Not all orders are created equally. You would want that flexibility to basically price them differently. You would want to include your channels in your e-commerce business in order to, you want to allow catalog sharing and have them spin up their stores and get your cut of that. You would want to customize payout tools and do some affiliation and all that in a very, very complex environment where you have multi-layers and changing relationship and dynamic ways to get to the end customer. So these are the type of things that we're looking at adding into our e-commerce offering down the road in the upcoming months.
And Ron, this is a perfect actual transition into our Q&A. First off, thank you, Ron, for running through these updates. I know we're just at the 45 mark on the East, 2:45 on the East Coast, but I do want to spend just the last couple minutes on answering some of these questions. And the reason I say the last slide was a perfect transition is there was a question that we received that was talking about, how do you handle some of these more advanced pricing or discount requests in the e-commerce, right? Discount based on quantity, potential coupon codes, maybe some campaigns that these customers want to run. I think you did a great job answering kind of where the focus is moving forward, is adding that type of functionality into the platform. But also the other thing to note to some of these customers that are on the call that are using the platform today is we already actually have a PO and quote and invoice tool built into the platform. Yes. So if you are leveraging Xyte today, currently launched, and you do want to launch a store, there is the ability for your customers to go in when choosing the PO checkout method on your store. An automatic quoting tool will generate a quote and then be able to invoice off of that quote. So we have some tools today, but of course, we recognize we got to advance it for some of the questions that were asked about the quantity-based as well as the coupons that you mentioned, Ron. So thank you for that. First off, before we get into the rest of the questions, thank you guys all again for jumping on here. We got a bunch of questions. I answered a bunch during the webinar. I want to get to a couple right now. For those that maybe we don't have time to get to, we'll definitely follow up with you afterwards to be able to answer those for you. Ron, one of the first questions is, what is that new scatter plot widget called? Is there a specific name for it?
I don't remember the exact name. I'm sorry. I think it's device events.
Device events.
Device events, yes.
Device events. All right, awesome. The next question was related to mobile management. Is there branding available similar on that as it is on the web, the actual browser base? Because I think in the image that you showed, it showed the Xyte logo on there.
Yeah, there is. It's not as rich as the desktop, of course, because it's smaller form factor, but yes.
Awesome. I think we have time for two last questions because I know one of them we'll get a little bit more detail, but for the rest of the questions we don't have time to get to. Again, I promise we will follow up with you one-on-one. The one question was related to the store and if Xyte does charge a transaction fee when there is something sold through the store. The answer to that is yes, we do charge a small transaction fee. The nice news about that is we actually rate the transaction fee on what you're selling. Higher fees for things like digital features and products that have a very high margin for you as a manufacturer. And of course, lower fees for things like hardware, which we know a lot of us come from the hardware world, have low margins. If you're interested in what exactly those fees are, be happy to connect with you. My email is right here. We have a whole fee table that I can provide to you after this webinar. The last question I think we have time for here is, we actually got this question from two folks. It was kind of related around AV as a service or as a service and the way it's defined. And, is it defined the way the market defines it? And it's a great question. It's a great point. What I've noticed, having been in the specific AV industry for almost 15 years now, but also experiencing where X as a service or anything as a service has really evolved in machinery industries, sensor industries, even consumer industries. The one trend I've seen is that the as a service part, there is no single definition to it. And the way that you define it, the only common trend is about delivering solutions and outcomes instead of delivering just hardware. That is the common trend that we've seen across all industries. And the reason, if you guys recall back at the beginning of this webinar, I mentioned that for one of the first times ever, we're seeing AV as a service truly being redefined and launched, is because the manufacturer that has launched this new feature of being able to sell a piece of hardware and then offer a feature enabled on that hardware aftermarket, they're focusing on delivering the better outcome and not just the hardware. And that was really where we saw this first kind of step into this as a service world and redefining it into what I believe is something that is tangible and actionable today and brings value, outcomes, and solutions to your dealers and your customers today. Will the bundling of hardware and the purchasing and subscriptions to that hardware occur? And do Xyte support that type of as a service enablement? Absolutely. All available today. You guys can log into our platform and create bundles and hardware, sell them as a monthly, annual contract, however you see fit. But we are absolutely seeing actionable releases of software and digital products being the first step into that as a service journey. So with that, we are just at 2:50 on the East Coast, and I want to make sure that we give some people time back. I really appreciate everybody for jumping on this webinar. Again, it has been recorded. We will share this recording with everyone who has signed up, as well as for those that attended. If you'd like us to share it with any of your other colleagues, our emails are right here. Please reach out to us anytime. For those that ask questions, thank you as well for being very interactive. For those that we didn't get a chance to address that answered questions, we will follow up with you one-on-one to address some of those questions. Thank you, Ron, for walking through the releases that were happening over the last quarter and what we're looking forward to for the next 6 months. And lastly, to those new customers that have not joined us yet that joined the webinar, please feel free to reach out to me or Ron anytime. We'd be happy to give you a demonstration about all the amazing things that the Xyte platform can bring you and your company today and, of course, into the future with these new releases. So with that, have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.